how to build a winning offer and where 99% of content creators go wrong. When we think about the offer that we're building, there's really going to be four sides to it. So on the top half, and this is what we're trying to maximize, we have the goal outcome. So that's the desired state or feeling that the client will achieve when they've gone through the service or product that we're delivering. Now, the goal outcome often runs a lot deeper than we think. In fitness, we're not selling a six-pack, we're selling status, confidence, we're selling attraction. And normally the highest level of appeal and goal outcome that we can sell is status. A lot of the things that motivate us and move us as humans is about how we rank ourselves against other people, whether that's consciously or subconsciously. If we go to the gym, if we dress a certain way, we're constantly trying to impress people around us. Next to that, we have the perceived likelihood of achievement, aka how likely is the client to achieve their dream outcome. Now, that's subjective, and that's part of your role when you're doing your marketing and sales, is to increase the perceived likelihood of achievement. Now, the way we do that is focusing on things like social proof and the level of accountability that we're going to deliver as they go through the service. Below, we want to minimize the time delay and the effort and sacrifice that goes into achieving this desired outcome. And this is what makes up the value equation. Now, this is adopted from Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers, and I'm going to apply it specifically to a fitness business because it's exactly what I used to maximize my value equation, meaning that I could charge higher prices for my service and build a seven-figure coaching business. Now, when we think about time delay, that is a service becomes more valuable the faster we deliver on the goal outcome. For example, if I'm getting you in shape, if it takes 30 days to get your dream physique versus if it takes 180 days, we know that taking 30 days is far more valuable than taking 6 months. Now, if I go over to effort and sacrifice, again, if I get you to your dream physique and I say you only have to do 2 workouts a week, 30 minutes a day, so an hour total a week, and you'll get your dream physique. That's a much more valuable service than saying, yeah, you can't eat any of the foods you love, you've got to be in the gym 7 days a week, and you've got to do 4 hours of cardio a week as well. It's a very different proposition, and therefore getting someone there as efficiently as possible with reduced time delay, with reduced effort and sacrifice, creates a more valuable service, meaning you can charge more for what you deliver. If I take a really good example in the fitness niche of someone who's maximized this value equation, I always look at Gregor Gallagher, right? He's got programs like Lazy Ripped with workouts that are less than 2 days a week to get your dream physique. It's the movie star physique. So we're always appealing to that desired end outcome that is much more than just getting a six-pack. It's about being a Greek god, a movie star, which we know has a lot of status, a lot of appeal, a lot of confidence, all of those things that we desire in that end outcome. Perceived likelihood of achievement, he goes on about who else has these testimonials, who else has all of the social proof that he does because of all the clients he's helped, increasing our perceived likelihood of achievement that if we go with Greg and we go with this program, if we go with Kino Body, he is going to get our dream outcome. Now, down the bottom, we have the time delay to get there. Most of his programs set in 90 days, but he says see results within 30 days. And then we also look at the effort and sacrifice it takes to get there as well. Lazy Ripped, 2 workouts a week. He's putting himself in a position where it minimizes the amount of effort and sacrifice the client has to give to get that result. So therefore the value of his service is increased, allowing him to charge higher prices and deliver a more valuable service or a more perceived valuable service to his clients. And that's something really important to understand. Value is perceived. Value is a perception, it's a subjective term. What I find valuable may be very different to what someone down the road finds valuable. For example, if someone was trying to sell me, get your dream physique, personally, I'm quite happy with where my physique is. So I'm probably not gonna value that service very high, as opposed to someone who's struggled to get in shape and has never seen their six-pack before and it's all they want in the entire world for the last 5 years, they're gonna value that service a lot higher. So value is perception, and it's our job in sales and marketing to increase the value of our service, the perception of value, so that we can charge higher prices and that our service becomes more desirable. Now, in terms of fulfillment, remember there's 3 channels. There's marketing, there's sales, and there's fulfillment. And in terms of the way that we fulfill our service, there's really 3 models that you can choose from in the digital landscape. You've got do it yourself. Now, this is easy to fulfill, it's hard to sell, and it's less valuable inherently. And we go back up to the value equation, we can think about this. In a do-it-yourself model, it is saying that the client has to take ownership and accountability themselves to complete the given service. So this may be selling, a PDF or something like that, or a hands-off guide, a grocery list, a nutrition, a meal plan that they just do themselves. Now in this, yes, the dream outcome remains the same. Perceived likelihood of achievement, it decreases maybe a little bit, because we're sort of thinking about this and going, well, I've got to do this myself, I've got to hold myself accountable. That leads to more effort and sacrifice, which is down the bottom. And if that's going up, if the amount of effort and sacrifice, again, they've got to hold themselves accountable, then we've got a less valuable service. So what you often find is with do-it-yourself products, they become cheaper because they're less valuable. So we have to sell at a discount versus other service offerings. Now we have do it with you. Now this is the classic fitness. This is one-on-one coaching. So it's okay to fulfill, it's okay to sell, and it's mid-valuable when we really think about it. And in terms of our level of scale, it is scalable, but it's not going to be as scalable as do-it-yourself. If you create a PDF once and sell it 1,000 times, it doesn't cost you anything more in terms of time, energy, and effort to fulfill the first customer versus the 1,000th. Now, if we compare that to do it with you, obviously fulfilling 1,000 done with you clients, it's going to take a lot of time, energy, and effort, depending how you've structured it. So we need to be thinking about that when we have our fulfillment. And what I want to challenge a lot of PTs too is, how could you get the same end result, charge the same amount if not more, but reduce the amount of time it takes you personally to fulfill? And when we think about scaling an offer, there's really two roads to that. We can scale through labor. Now labor is hiring other coaches so that they help us fulfill. Or another way, which is my favorite and a way that you can complement with scaling through labor, is you can scale through a blueprint, through info. Now when I think about info, it's about creating a blueprint, a framework, a protocol, this higher level of beliefs and brand that transcend just you. What that creates is it's a separation between you as the coach that needs to be there holding their hand every step of the way, and the brand that you are creating that does a lot of that legwork for you. When you create a protocol and a blueprint, it's a set in stone approach that is agreed upon by many that will achieve the same outcome. Now, why this is valuable is when we go to our value equation and we're looking at perceived value, if I say, oh yeah, I'm going to take you through the 12-week protocol. Phase 1, we've got the strength building. Phase 2, we've got the hypertrophy. Phase 3, we've got the lean out. And it's a protocol that has helped 15,000 men in your exact position go through and get the body of their dreams. What I'm doing is I'm driving social proof, not just behind what I've achieved, but also behind the protocol and strategy that I'm giving them. If they can follow a blueprint, a protocol, some sort of system, it helps us rationalize in our head that this is a systematic approach that hasn't just worked for one or two people, it's worked for many. When it's worked for many, we're much more willing to take that on, and we have a higher perceived likelihood of achievement. Now, when we combine this with obviously being able to fulfill at scale with multiple coaches under us, it becomes a very powerful vessel, because those coaches under us then become extensions of us, and they've been trained under the blueprint. If I think of another example of Ben Patrick with ATG, he's got ATG, Ask to Grass, approved coaches. Now they are under the ATG certification, which he's created as a certification body that instills his blueprint or protocol or approach to training. Why this is really smart is if he didn't do this, he would be limited as Ben Patrick and constrained by the amount of hours he has in a day, which, like everyone else, he's only got 24 hours. He cannot increase that time. So what he needs to do is to create little model duplicates of himself through the ATG certification. It basically gives them the tick of approval that they can speak on his behalf and behalf of his training methodologies to deliver that at scale to clients, which means he can impact thousands, if not tens of thousands of lives, as opposed to the mere maybe 10, 20, 30 that he would be able to handle personally. So it's another way of pulling leverage to give us scale, is by creating this blueprint or info that we can scale our methodology through. And I'd really encourage you, as you begin to build your business, think about how you can separate it from you. The age-old problem for a founder is that they get stuck in the business and the business can't scale past them, because if you took them out, they are the main cog that makes everything else go round. And it's normally in the fulfillment because they're scaling their own knowledge. Now, when you can separate yourself and put yourself in a position where it's a blueprint, a protocol, where you have certified coaches under you that adhere to your standard, that's what allows you to separate yourself from that over time and create a legacy business that can live on beyond you. Because ultimately, people are subscribing to the methodology that you're putting out, the knees over toes framework, rather than just Ben Patrick as the coach who's delivering it. Now, on the final tier, you have done for you. This is obviously very, very difficult in fitness. I think it's near impossible. We can't go to the gym for them. We can't eat healthy food. We can't not eat non-healthy food. It's hard to fulfill. It's very easy to sell as opposed to the other ones because of that perceived likelihood of achievement, and it's very, very valuable. Where this becomes more relevant is outside of the health pillar, more in the wealth pillar. When we think about done for you offers, maybe in the content space, done for you offers, maybe in a video editing sense, personal brand building, e-commerce, all of those offers tend to be a lot more expensive because the perceived likelihood of achievement is a lot higher. The effort and sacrifice from the client is reduced, but the effort and sacrifice from the person who's fulfilling it is a lot higher. So obviously the work needs to get done by someone, but given that's been passed over to the person selling, they take a larger clip. And a lot of done-for-you mechanisms often work on some sort of revenue share, or they may just be higher priced as well. So although they're great and can produce very high-ticket sales, they are not very scalable. You obviously have to build out a team, and you end up in this sort of agency position. Now, when you start out, I truly, truly believe that you should always start in the do it with you. The reason why is when you do it with you, in terms of when you're working with a client one-on-one, you strengthen your understanding of the problem. You basically put yourself in a position to better understand the pain and the problems that are going on for each individual client. And it's a very, very different experience learning the skill yourself versus teaching someone else that skill. And that's very important to remember, because a lot of people just assume, oh, because I've done it myself, I can teach other people, therefore I'm going to jump all the way to maybe an info product where I'm teaching people at scale in this do-it-yourself method. You need to do it with them because the questions they ask is going to help you form the answers for your do-it-yourself model. It just helps strengthen the understanding of the core problem that you're actually solving for your client. Now, a benefit of starting with done with you is that in the content creation world, and once you've built a personal brand, people are so willing to go on the journey of product development. And what I mean by that is even before you have an offer, putting on your story, asking polls, better understanding your audience is going to help form whatever offer you want to put together. So I recommend, if you have an audience today, start polling your audience. Start asking them, what do you follow me for? What do you struggle with the most? Really understand what you're solving for them and where their pain is. If there's pain, if there's a problem, then there's going to be a product, because you can create a solution for that. You're going to start with done with you. So you're going to offer some of your time to help solve their problems. That's going to put you in an agency position where you are working one-on-one with them. Over that time, you're going to note down all of the problems that arise, all the things that you're solving for them, all the difficulties, bottlenecks, everything they struggle with along the way. This not only puts you in a position to better design whatever more scalable vessel you're going to create, but you also get paid for this market research. It's one of the few roles in the world where people will actually pay you to tell you how to design a better product down the line. Now, large S&P 500 corporate companies, they pay thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in market research to better design products for their customers. These ones are actually going to pay you, which is the amazing part of social media and being in this position. And why I always love starting with high ticket, or at least starting in this done with you model, is essentially you get free market research, but also the higher price you can charge is the higher emotional investment from your clients. And when we think about that, when there's that sting, when they have to pay some level of commitment, entry fee that they're going, this is a decent amount of money, it is a sting, it puts them in a position that makes them more committed. That means they get better results in the long term, because they hold themselves more accountable for a longer period of time. Why that is important is because when they get those results, their perceived value of the product goes up, you get better testimonials, your revenue for fulfillment per customer has increased, the perceived value of your business has increased, and I often find that the demandingness of a client that is paying you more has decreased over time as well. Now, if we compare this to when we lower the price, it means we have lower revenue for fulfillment per customer. When we're in that position, it makes it more difficult because we're more time constrained, because we feel like we have to sell on more clients, aka make ourselves busier, which means we're fractionalizing our time across more and more people. It'd be far better to focus on fewer clients at a higher price. Also, the perceived value of self will decrease because if they do not get the results, if I just think about someone entering into a 12-week program, if I charge them $50 and they get in 6 weeks and now they're going, 6 weeks in, yeah, I probably got my money's worth, I don't really feel like doing this workout today, and they throw in the towel. And then obviously they don't get the results because they've only done half of the program. And they're coming to me and saying, hey, I didn't get the results, this is a shit program. As opposed to someone who's paying $1,500 and when they're 6 weeks in, they're going, I probably want to get my money's worth and do the full 12 weeks. And then they do the full 12 weeks, complete 100% and get good results. There's a very different outcome, and it's based on the perceived value and the emotional cost, aka that financial investment that went into the initial product. So charging a higher price earlier on puts you in a better position to win, not only from a fulfillment perspective, because you have more revenue per customer, but also just that emotional investment from each individual customer and how accountable they are going to hold themselves because of how much it has cost them financially to join that program. Now, once we've moved through the done with you model, ultimately at some point we want to scale. As I mentioned before, we can scale through labor and we can also scale through productizing the approach, bringing in the appropriate systems, but moving to more of an info product model. Now, I sort of see this as 4 stages of leverage. So first you acquire the skill, whether that's getting in shape, whether that's teaching content creation, like building your own personal brand, we could use that as an example. Then you get in a position where you can teach the skills. So that's where you're transferring knowledge to someone else in that done with you sort of stage. In there, that's where you really start to unpack and understand what is the core problem that you're trying to solve. If it's in a fitness relationship, where do people fall off? Where do the habits break down? Where do the naughty habits of going into the pantry late at night, does it occur late at night? Is it buying those things? How do we actually fix the root problem? And if you can start systematically fixing the root problem, you can get to a point where you can build a really effective info product. Now, this is a much more scalable vessel and it moves more to that do-it-yourself model, or maybe it's a group coaching model. In that model, you have the ability to scale your time far more effectively. You have higher pools of leverage because you've systemized an approach that solves the root problem of your client. At the highest level of leverage, there is software. Now, software, again, is trying to solve that root problem, but it's taking a very different approach where we can use software to consistently scale without just our time. And we think about the different tiers of leverage. At the very bottom, we have labor, then we have capital, then we have media, and software or code. So that's sort of the triangle that you want to be focusing on. If we focus on that triangle of leverage, at the very bottom, we can leverage labor. And when I think about labor, it's about hiring more coaches and scaling up that way, increasing our employees and staff flow. Then we have capital, that may be investing in various areas of the business for more leverage. And then media, which is essentially an info product, so creating some sort of digital asset in the form of media that allows you to scale, and software or code. So using code to scale. Once it's built and once it's scaling, the incremental cost of adding a user or a new client is very, very low. It creates a very high level of leverage. Now, if I take fitness for an example, you could get in great shape yourself. You could then be teaching other people that skill. You could then get to the point where you have a group coaching offer that solves the core root of the problem. And then you could build a coaching app that may help people. You may find through teaching other people the skill that habits is the core problem and root cause of everything that's going on. Therefore, your info product could be built around how do we build great habits, and therefore your software could be a habit tracking software or mechanism or app that sits on your phone and tells you when you're falling off or how you need to focus on those habits. And it's very similar. This is how I'm approaching content creation. I've been pretty devoted on solving that as a problem. First, I acquired the skill myself, growing my own social media. And then I taught other people. I took on 101 one-on-one clients. In that process, I got to the root problem of the difficulties people have when they launch, grow, and want to scale and monetize their social media. I built the info product, which sits today as Amplify, which is a group coaching community where we have daily group calls. We also have the different sections inside Amplify. And now I built the software, which is the templates, content engine. I'm building a full content editing app. I've also built a CRM to help coaches scale and track their coaching business with really good data hygiene. And I'm building a fulfillment platform so coaches can better fulfill for their clients. So you can see how there is a software piece as well. And the best businesses you can build have an info product that feeds into the software and vice versa. I guess the question you want to be asking yourself is, where are you on this journey? Are you acquiring the skill? Are you ready to teach someone else? Are you building the info product so you can scale? Or are you looking at software? Now, not everyone needs to get to software, but ask your question where you are on this journey. And the best place to start when you scale is just think about how can you solve the core root problem for every single client without just selling your time.